My name is Leah R. Downing, and I'm the kind of daughter who still falls for the same old guilt trip. I made the 6-hour drive to my parents' house because my dad was complaining about his heart acting up again, which is always their go-to reason for pulling me back in. Like, hey, your dad's not doing great. You should come see us before something happens. Classic. I hadn't seen them in a few months, and honestly, I thought everything was fine between us. Normal stuff, just busy with life. So I figured I'd visit, catch up, do the good daughter thing, and go home. That was my plan. What I didn't know was that the second they saw the car in the driveway, they were already making decisions about it. Now here's where things got tricky. My boyfriend Patricia had just bought this shiny new SUV. He'd been saving up for it for like 2 years, and he was super proud of it. You know, the type of car that looks so good you feel like a celebrity driving it. That's his car. He'd had it for a couple of months, and he let me drive it sometimes because my old car was in the shop. Some stupid engine thing I don't really get. I asked Patricia if I could take his SUV for the weekend trip, and he was cool with it. He trusted me. He handed me the keys like it was nothing. Like love meant sharing without fear. Like family was supposed to feel safe. So I get to my parents' house, and everything's pretty normal at first. We're catching up, talking about the usual stuff, how my job's going, how life's been since Patricia moved in with me last month. And of course they ask about the car because it's hard not to notice how fancy it looks sitting in their driveway. I didn't think much of it when they asked whose car it was. I just casually said, "Yeah, it's mine." Which in hindsight was the dumbest thing I've ever said. But honestly, why would it matter, right? We're family. It's just a car. Fast forward today, 4 of my visit. I decided to meet up with a friend for lunch, one of those old high school friends who you only talk to a couple of times a year, but still feel close to. So I'm out for a few hours. And when I come back to my parents' house, I notice something weird right away. The car's gone. At first, I thought maybe my dad took it for a spin, which seemed unlikely because his health isn't the best, but whatever. I didn't panic right away. I told myself there had to be a normal explanation, because who does something crazy like that without saying anything? So I go inside and ask, "Hey, where's the car?" My mom was standing in the kitchen like nothing was wrong, wiping down the counter, humming to herself. She didn't even look surprised to see me. "Oh," she said casually, "we sold it." I'm sorry, what? For a second, I genuinely thought she was joking, like this was one of those awkward, badly timed pranks. So I laughed. "No, seriously, where's the car?" She didn't laugh back. She just repeated it, slower this time, like I was the one not keeping up. "We sold it." My brain actually stalled. I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to say, "Relax, your dad just moved it." But then my dad walked in and backed her up like this was completely reasonable. "We got a pretty good price for it," he said, almost proud. That's when it hit me. They weren't joking. They had actually sold Patricia's SUV. The brand new one he'd saved 2 years for. The one that wasn't even legally mine. "What do you mean you sold it?" I asked, and my voice sounded far away even to me. "It's not even yours." My dad frowned like I was being dramatic. "Well, you said it was yours, so we figured it was okay." Figured it was okay. Like ownership is just based on casual conversation. Like titles and registration and common sense don't exist. They started explaining it like it was a fun little project. They took pictures, sent them to some friends, found a buyer who was willing to pay a lot. My mom even said, "It sold faster than we expected," like she was talking about furniture on Facebook Marketplace. "How much did you get?" I asked, already feeling the answer coming. My dad didn't hesitate. "We gave the money to your sister. She needed a break after the divorce." Of course. My sister, the golden child, the one who hasn't called me in months unless she needs something, the one who lives out of state and shows up only when there's a check involved. They sold Patricia's car to fund her vacation because she needed a break. I felt heat rush through my chest. "Are you out of your minds?" I yelled. "That wasn't even my car." My dad's face hardened immediately. "You told us it was." "That doesn't give you the right to sell it," I shot back. "Who sells a car without even asking?" My mom tried to soften it. "We thought you'd understand. You're doing well for yourself. You can buy another one. But your sister, she's been struggling." There it was. The math they always do. Leah equals stable. Leah equals responsible. Leah equals can absorb the loss. Sister equals fragile. Sister equals priority. Sister equals protected at all costs. "So because I'm doing well, you can just steal from me," I said. It's not stealing," my dad snapped. "It's family helping family." Helping. I couldn't even process how upside down that logic was. They didn't even ask. They didn't even call. They just took something and sold it, because in their minds I could afford the hit. And then my mom had the nerve to say, "If you'd just been honest and told us it wasn't yours, we wouldn't have sold it. This is really your fault for not telling us the truth." My fault. I shouldn't have said it was mine, that's true. But who in their right mind hears "it's mine" and decides to liquidate it without a single conversation? I was shaking. I pulled out my phone and called Patricia right there in front of them. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" I couldn't sugarcoat it. "They sold your car." There was silence, then a slow, controlled breath on the other end. "What?" "My parents sold it. They thought it was mine. They gave the money to my sister." I could see my parents' faces change as they realized I wasn't bluffing, that this wasn't going to stay inside the family bubble. Patricia didn't yell. That somehow made it worse. His voice got very steady. "Did they transfer the title?" "I don't know. Leah, that's grand theft. I'm not letting this slide." I swallowed. I agree. My mom started crying. "You wouldn't hurt your own parents, would you? We're family." Family. They keep using that word like it's a shield. "You hurt me first," I said quietly. "You hurt Patricia. You don't get to play victim now." I left their house that day feeling numb, not just angry, something colder, like something fundamental had shifted. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about the fact that they didn't even see what they did as wrong. After I left my parents' house that day, I knew things were about to get messy. I was angry, sure, but it wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about the fact that they couldn't see how wrong what they did was. And on top of that, they had the audacity to blame me for their screw-up, like I was the one who made this whole thing happen. I didn't have time to just sit there and spiral. Patricia was furious, and the more I thought about it, the worse I felt for him. He worked 2 years for that SUV. Overtime shifts, canceled trips, budget spreadsheets taped to the fridge, and my parents treated it like a garage sale item. First thing I did was call them and tell them to get the car back. "I don't care what you have to do," I said. "Call the buyer, offer him more money, whatever it takes. You need to fix this." My dad immediately started in with the excuses. "We already gave your sister the money," he said, "and we don't want to upset her. She's been through enough." There it was again, the shield. My sister's feelings were more important than legality, more important than respect, more important than me. "I don't care about her vacation," I snapped. "This isn't about her. This is about you selling something that didn't belong to you." "You're overreacting," he said. "You're doing well. You can afford another one." "Doing well?" They kept repeating that like it justified theft. My mom jumped in next. "If you had just told us it wasn't yours, none of this would have happened. You should have been honest." I actually had to pull the phone away from my ear for a second. "How is this my fault?" I asked slowly. "You sold a car without asking. That's not normal behavior." "We did this for your sister," my dad insisted. "No," I said. "You did this because you think you can." There was silence on the other end. That's when I realized something. They weren't going to fix this. Not because they couldn't, because they didn't think they should have to. That night, Patricia and I sat in the hotel room going over everything. He was trying to stay calm, but I could see the frustration in his jaw, the way he kept running his hand through his hair. "I don't want to destroy your family," he said quietly. "They destroyed it," I replied. We talked through options, pressing charges, civil suit, demand letters. I hated that it had come to this, but they left us no choice. We decided to give them one last chance face to face. Not for them, for me. I needed to look them in the eyes and make sure they understood exactly what they had done. The next morning, we drove back to my parents' house. My heart was pounding the entire time. Patricia parked and looked over at me. "I'm ready if you are." I nodded, even though I wasn't sure I was ready for what was coming. We rang the doorbell. My dad answered, and the look on his face said everything. Irritation, not guilt. "You back to talk some sense into your boyfriend," he said, not even looking at Patricia. The disrespect was immediate. "No," I said calmly. "We're here to talk about the car." He stepped aside, but his tone didn't soften. "Maybe you should have thought about all this before you lied." I felt Patricia tense beside me, but he stayed quiet. We walked into the living room. My mom was on the couch, eyes red like she'd been crying, but she didn't look sorry. She looked cornered. "We've already explained everything," she said softly. "What more do you want?" "We want the car back," Patricia said firmly. "You sold something that didn't belong to you. You need to fix it." My dad rolled his eyes. "We're trying," he said, "but we already gave the money to your sister. We don't want to take that away from her. So take it from us instead," I shot back. "You're being unreasonable," he said. "You can afford it." That was the moment something inside me snapped. "This is not about money," I yelled. "This is about respect. You don't get to decide what I can afford and then take something because of it." My mom started crying again. We didn't mean to hurt you. We were just helping your sister. You helped her by stealing from us, I said. Patricia finally stepped forward. This doesn't have to get ugly. Call the buyer. Offer him the money back. We'll move on. But if you don't, I will press charges. My dad stood up furious. You think you can come into my house and make demands? You're not family. You're just some guy dating my daughter. Patricia didn't flinch. I'm the guy whose car you stole. Silence. Heavy, thick, final. We're not doing this, my dad said. If you want it back so bad, take us to court. I looked at Patricia. He nodded. Fine, I said. We'll see you in court. As we walked out, my mom called after me about how I was making a mistake and how she never thought I'd turn on them. I didn't turn around. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to fix it. After we left my parents' house that day, Patricia and I were dead set on moving forward. We tried to be civil, we tried to give them chances, and they blew every single one. I was mentally preparing myself for lawyers, court dates, and the kind of family war people pretend only happens to other families. Then I got a call I didn't expect. My sister. Now, a little backstory on her. We haven't been close for years. She lives out of state, rarely visits, and we're more like acquaintances than sisters at this point. She's the golden child in my parents' eyes, and I've just learned to live with it. Her calling me now was weird. I hadn't even spoken to her since this whole car situation blew up. At first, I ignored the call. I was drained, and I didn't have the energy for more drama. But she kept calling over and over until I finally answered just to end it. Hey, I said, keeping my voice neutral. She didn't bother with small talk. What the hell is going on? Mom and Dad just called me saying you're threatening to sue them. What are you doing? I felt my blood pressure spike, the nerve of her calling me like I was the problem. I took a deep breath and forced myself to stay steady. They sold Patricia's car, I said. They gave you the money, by the way, so you should probably know that. There was a pause, and then she hit me with it. So what, she said. You can't take them to court over something like this. They're our parents. You need to let it go. I actually laughed, because it was so absurd I couldn't help it. Let it go. They sold something that didn't belong to them. That's illegal. She got defensive immediately. They were just trying to help me out. I've been going through a lot, and they didn't want to use their own savings. What's the big deal? It's just a car. That was the moment my patience evaporated. It's not just a car. It's about them not respecting me or Patricia. They think they can do whatever they want, and we're supposed to smile because it's family. She went quiet for a second, and I could tell she wasn't absorbing anything I was saying. She just wanted me to stop causing trouble for them. Then she tried to guilt me. You've always had it easier, she said. You've got a good job, a good boyfriend. You don't need the money like I do. Mom and Dad thought you'd understand. I felt my hands shaking, not from fear, from anger. You think this is about money. It's about them stealing from Patricia and blaming me for it. And now you're calling me like I'm the villain. You're being selfish, she snapped. They raised you. They've done so much for you, and this is how you repay them. I realized in that moment she didn't know me at all. Or maybe she never wanted to. In her mind, I existed as a backup plan. The one who absorbs the mess so she doesn't have to. I don't owe them anything, I said firmly. And I definitely don't owe you an explanation. This is between me, Patricia, and our parents. Stay out of it. She didn't like that. Fine, but don't expect me to feel sorry for you. I didn't respond. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Patricia was sitting beside me the whole time, watching my face, reading every shift in my expression. When I turned to him, he didn't say, I told you so. He just shook his head slowly. You okay? He asked, even though we both knew I wasn't. Yeah, I lied. She just doesn't get it. None of them do, he said quietly. Later that night, we talked through the next steps. Patricia was still set on pressing charges, and honestly, I was too. But before we did, we decided to give my parents one last chance to make it right. Not because they deserved it, but because I needed to know I had done everything possible before I burned the bridge completely. We drove back the next morning, and I hated that my stomach still twisted on the way there. I hated that some part of me still wished they'd suddenly become the parents I needed. When we rang the doorbell, my dad answered, and he didn't even try to hide his irritation. What do you want now? He snapped. Patricia stepped forward. We're giving you one last chance, he said. Either you get the car back or we're going to court. Your choice. My dad's face turned red. You think you can come in here and make demands. This is my house, and you don't tell me what to do. I exhaled slowly. This was exactly what I expected. They weren't going to back down, because backing down would mean admitting they were wrong. Dad, I said, forcing my voice calm, we're not here to fight. We just want the car back. That's it. If you can't do that, then we have no choice. My mom appeared behind him, eyes watery again. Please, she begged, don't do this. We're family. For the first time, her tears didn't move me. This isn't about family, I said quietly. It's about respect. And you lost mine the second you sold that car. We turned and walked away, leaving them standing in their doorway, still convinced I was the one destroying everything. As we drove off, I felt something strange. Relief. Not because it was over, but because I finally stopped begging for them to choose me. A couple of days went by after that last visit. No calls, no dramatic voicemails, no more guilt trips. The silence felt strange, like the calm before something worse. Patricia and I were already talking to a lawyer, already gathering screenshots and documentation, mentally preparing for a long legal battle. I was bracing myself for months of stress, depositions, court dates, and the kind of family fallout you can't undo. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. Hi, is this Leah Downing? A man asked cautiously. Yes. My name's Eric. I recently purchased a silver SUV from your parents. My stomach dropped. I was given your number, he continued, because they've been trying to contact me about buying it back. Something felt off, so I looked more closely at the paperwork. I didn't breathe. The title is still in someone else's name, he said. Patricia's, I'm guessing. I closed my eyes. They hadn't even transferred the title. They sold a car they didn't legally own and didn't even bother to check the most basic step of a transaction. They told me it was their daughter's car, Eric continued. But the registration didn't match what they said. I don't want to be involved in anything illegal. I explained everything. How they sold it without permission, how it belonged to my boyfriend, how we were preparing to press charges. There was a long pause. Then he sighed. Look, I don't want to be dragged into a legal mess. I'll give the car back if you reimburse what I paid. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something loosen in my chest. I hung up and told Patricia everything. He didn't hesitate. We'll get it back. There was no ego in his voice, no pride, just clarity. He cared about the car, yes, but more than that, he cared about drawing a line. We met Eric the next afternoon in a grocery store parking lot halfway between cities. It felt surreal, like some undercover exchange you see in a bad crime movie. He handed over the keys. We handed over a cashier's check for the exact amount he'd paid. No drama, no shouting, just a clean reversal of a dirty decision. When Patricia slid into the driver's seat again, he didn't smile. He just exhaled, like he'd been holding that breath for days. We drove away in silence. Relief, yes, but not restoration, because the car was back. The trust wasn't. That night, I stared at my phone for a long time. I knew what I needed to do. I blocked my parents' numbers. I didn't send a final message. I didn't explain myself. I didn't leave the door cracked open for negotiation. I just blocked them. It felt extreme. It felt final. It felt necessary. A week passed, and for the first time in years, my mind felt quiet. I hadn't realized how much space my parents occupied in my head until that space emptied out. The constant second-guessing, the maybe I overreacted, the reflex to explain myself, gone. But of course, peace doesn't arrive without resistance. My aunt texted, "Your parents are devastated. They don't understand why you're shutting them out." I didn't respond, because I finally understood something. They don't understand because they don't want to. Then my sister texted from a different number. "You seriously blocked Mom and Dad. What's wrong with you?" That was it. No apology, no accountability, just more blame. I blocked her too. Her vacation money, her self-care break, her constant priority status. None of that was my burden anymore. Patricia suggested we get away for a few days. Not some grand vacation, just distance. We packed up the SUV, the real one, and drove toward the mountains. No itinerary, no expectations, just space. On the road, something shifted in me. I kept replaying everything. The moment my mom said, "We sold it." The way my dad crossed his arms and told me I could afford another one. The way my sister said, "It's just a car." It was never just a car. It was years of being the reasonable one. Years of being told I was strong enough to handle it. Years of watching them bend over backwards for her while I was expected to absorb everything quietly. That trip wasn't about escape. It was about clarity. One evening, sitting outside a small cabin rental, Patricia looked at me and asked, "Do you regret it?" Cutting them off. Standing firm. Threatening court. I thought about it carefully. No, I said. I regretted that it had to happen. But I didn't regret finally choosing myself. When we got back home, the silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt clean. I didn't know what the future would look like with my parents. Maybe years from now, they'd reach out differently. Maybe they wouldn't. But I knew one thing for sure. I was done being the backup plan. Done being the responsible one who absorbs the cost so everyone else can feel comfortable. They made their choice when they sold that car, and I made mine when I stopped trying to fix them. You'd think getting the SUV back would have been the end of it. Legally, it was clean. The title never changed hands. The buyer walked away satisfied. We reimbursed him, and technically, there was no longer an open theft issue to prosecute. But emotionally, that was a different story. About 3 weeks after we got the car back, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I saw her through the peephole before I opened the door. She looked smaller somehow, not fragile, just smaller. I opened the door, but I didn't invite her in. I just want to talk, she said, already teary. Patricia was in the kitchen, but he stayed there. He didn't need to hover. He trusted me to handle it. You blocked us, she said, like that was the greatest offense in this whole mess. You sold something that didn't belong to you, I replied calmly. She winced. We were trying to help your sister. She was falling apart. And I wasn't supposed to matter. That's not fair. I almost laughed. Fair, I repeated. You didn't think about fair when you sold his car. She shifted tactics. We raised you. We sacrificed for you. There it was again. The debt they think I owe them. You don't get lifetime access to my life because you did the bare minimum as parents, I said quietly. You don't get to steal from me because you changed my diapers once. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. You've changed, she whispered. No, I said. I've stopped tolerating it. That's when her tone changed. The tears stopped. The mask slipped. You've always been dramatic, she said flatly. Your sister needed support. You didn't. That sentence sealed it. It wasn't about a misunderstanding. It wasn't about a mistake. It was about value. In their hierarchy, I ranked lower because I was stable, capable, functional. She left without another word. That was the last time I saw her. Over the next few months, word spread through extended family. Some relatives sided with my parents, saying I should have handled it privately. Others quietly admitted they weren't surprised. One cousin even confessed that my parents once tried to borrow money from him using emotional blackmail. He'd refused, but he never told anyone because he didn't want to cause drama. That's the thing about families like mine. Drama only counts when you expose it, not when they create it. Patricia and I had long conversations during that time. Not about the car, about boundaries, about what kind of life we wanted. You don't owe them access to you, he told me one night while we were sitting on the balcony. Family isn't a free pass to disrespect you. He was right. And something else became clear. If I went back now, if I folded because they were devastated, it would never stop. There would be another emergency, another crisis, another sacrifice expected from me. So I didn't go back. I didn't answer emails from my aunt asking me to be the bigger person. I didn't respond when my sister tried messaging from a new number accusing me of ruining everything. I stayed quiet. And in that quiet, something powerful happened. I realized how peaceful my life was without them constantly testing my boundaries. No guilt. No manipulation. No sudden financial chaos. Just space. Patricia and I started focusing more on us. We redecorated the living room, planned an actual vacation this time, one we paid for ourselves, built routines that didn't revolve around damage control. One evening, as we were driving the SUV through the city, music playing, windows down, I looked at him and said, "You know what's crazy." "What?" They thought they were punishing me by selling this. He smiled faintly. What they really did was show you exactly who they are. Exactly. That car was never the real issue. It was the final test. And they failed. I don't know if I'll ever speak to my parents again. Maybe one day they'll apologize without conditions, without blame, without, "but you should have." But I'm not waiting for that version of them. I'm building my life without it. They thought because I was doing well, I could absorb the loss. They were right about one thing. I am strong. Just not in the way they expected.